Ever wondered what makes TV so powerful in Jamaica? Time to find out. Welcome to Global TV Group 358, where television meets innovation. We're not just about shows, we're about shaping society. In Jamaica, TV keeps you informed, connects diverse voices, and supports democracy. Imagine a Jamaica where broadcasters unite, sharing data and collaborating globally. That's us, a unified voice in the TV industry. Did you know TV advertising is still king? It drives website traffic, boosts brand equity, and powers integrated campaigns. Even in an age of digital, TV stands strong, resilient in tough times. Our global TV deck is your treasure trove of insights and data. With charts, graphs, and success stories, it's your guide to impactful TV advertising. Curious to learn more? Visit our website and see how Global TV Group 358 keeps television at the heart of entertainment in Jamaica. Get ready to binge watch the future.
Corruption is a vile disease that sucks and drains the health out of something good. Corruption in society is an evil moral infection that keeps community in the state of perpetual sickness. Corruption is a moral virus. It's so potent, it leaves its host sick, lethargic, and unable to realize and accomplish all that a well person can. Where corruption thrives, poverty and not prosperity thrives. Wealth is grabbed into the greedy, grubby hands of those who get fat on the toil and labor of good people. Corruption benefits, only temporarily, those who participate in it. Everyone else is a victim of the theft, the deceit, the dishonesty, and the lies that corruption feeds on. You need to know that a corrupt person is stealing from you. Corruption is filthy work and despicable acts of treachery done under the table and behind closed doors. Corruption is a disgusting shame. Corruption keeps a nation back from true development and from progress. Wise investors steer clear of a corrupt environment. They would rather put their resources into a place where the playing field of opportunity is equal for all and not bent towards feeding the financial lust of corrupt, lying, cheating, thieving politicians and government officials. How many wonderful development projects have been lost because the investors didn't want to do business in a swamp of evil? When those great projects go to another nation or to some other place, we all lose. Believe me when I tell you that corruption steals from you, it steals from all of us. Corruption plunders the nation's wealth. Corrupt people compromise on truth, equity, and fairness, choosing instead to feed off the short-term benefits of crookedness, exploitation, and financial perversion. Corruption is not just a personal matter, it's a culture. It's a way of life, not just for individual people, but for companies, communities, governments, and nations. Corrupt nations, hiding behind large companies, will seek to invest in other weak nations in order to take over the assets of the nation that they've invested into. They will provide financial loans to a nation for the much-needed infrastructure, and they will do it with assets that they provide. They will sign contracts by lining the pockets of rotten government officials who participate in this kind of corruption and are then held hostage by their own deceit and greed. Corruption is nothing less than a form of theft and national robbery. A corrupt person steals from everyone in society.
Ghetto, run, keep going on, less process. For children of Israel do really love rights. So just a try and I as a watching man, I run Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel, I shall never hold thy peace. What wrong is going on? Hey, oh, we gonna bust down Babylon walls. Prepare and read the way. Prepare and read the way for your people. Let's go. Fight down, war and cry. Fight down, me say Rastafari. War and cry and do that righteousness. And we love God. And we love God. Jah, Jah Rastafari. And we love Jah, Jah, Jah Rastafari. Save all people. And we love Jah, we love Jah, Jah, Jah Rastafari. We love Jah, Jah, Jah Rastafari. Save all people. Put time away again. Listen, yeah. Just as I and I say, watch a man, I run Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel, I and I should never hold thy peace while we penalize. Hey, oh, night. We gonna bust down Babylon gates. Prepare the way, prepare the way for Jah Rastafari. Fight down war and crime, fight down war and crime. Rastafari, war and crime, and build up righteousness. And we love Jah, and we love Jah, and we love Jah, Rastafari. Preserve all, and we love Jah, Jah Rastafari. Me love Jah, Jah Rastafari. Me love Jah, Jah Rastafari. Preserve all. Me love Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Jah Rastafari. Yeah, the next song is going to be the last song for tonight. And then DJ Twink.
For decades, they've had outstretched hand collecting. When it now come time to return the favor, they've all looked the other way with head buried in the sand. The question is Cuba a brother? And is CARICOM practicing the love thy neighbor principle? That is why we're asking tonight, where is the moral outrage from CARICOM? Where is the love thy brothers principle that we see coming from CARICOM? The silence is becoming more and more deafening from CARICOM on a matter of principle. Cuba has never looked the other direction from the Caribbean, always a faithful and loyal brother. Is that the treatment, though, that the Caribbean is given to Cuba in return? Good evening and welcome to the People's Point of View. Thank you all for joining us this evening. To my community of party and all my family members, platform moderators, membership holders, viewers, subscribers, commenters, and trolls, good evening. Welcome one and all. Like and share the live for us, please. This evening is about Cuba. This evening is about Cuba. The silence, the lack of moral outrage, the my brother's keepers principle, the love thy neighbor principle, all have faded away under the pressure of United States visa sanction and financial sanction. Couldn't make it up. You really couldn't make it up that your brother, who has supported you loyally for decades, under 6-7 decades of embargo, the Caribbean still cannot do without Cuba. Because if it was not for the Caribbean, if it was not for Cuba, healthcare in the Caribbean would have really been a mess. If it was for the United States and our Western allies, healthcare in our country would have really been a mess. But Cuba had made sure that the region is given the knowledge, the speciality, and the cooperation required when it comes to buttressing the health of the Caribbean. What a shameful time it is for the Caribbean. What a shameful time it is for a country like Jamaica. What a shameful time it is for social democracy in the Caribbean, from Jamaica to the rest of them. Social democracy is being muted. Is there such a thing as social democracy in the Caribbean? One might ask. Or have we become US puppets? Oh, no, everybody. Debbie Jervis, good evening and welcome. Lynette Jenkins, good evening, good evening. Shaletta Reed, good evening. Who else is here? Marcia Thomas, good evening. Gloria Morris, good evening. Colleen Laverne, Desroy Stanley, good evening. Michael Nepper, Suzette Williams, good evening, and welcome. Jamaica people, when you know see Miss Grizzle come out, Opal, how you do? Before we get on to Cuba, Miss Grizzle come out and all them things. Yeah. Miss Grizzle come out about the tax. And I'm sure, Raymond, how you do? I'm sure Miss Grizzle can globalists, whether I broke over here, you know, cold and rain and fall, I sleep till I nearly sleep out. The only thing over here for the right now is under the sheet. Under the blanket, that's all. Over here cold, and we're gonna have a cold night and a cold sleet and snow tomorrow morning. And it just go on with itself. So Lawrence Michaels, how you do? Miss Grizzle come out and all them things. No, Miss Grizzle is from the tourism sector. And you know to say, tourism sector greatness, how you do? You know to say, tourism sector has been given special treatment in Melissa. They have been put on their foot. Andrea, how you do? They have been put on their foot before the ordinary Jamaicans who are still lying in the mud, as we can see. The tax what government have put pan we and all away. It a compound we were in the mud straight away. Ladybug, oh you do, Lawrence Michaels. It a compound we straight away, you know. But the tourism sector, which Miss Grizzle is a part of, them now get the hit until next year. But rightly so, Miss Grizzle come out a quarrel over the tax. And I'm asking you Jamaicans who cannot afford, because we know Miss Grizzle can't afford, as much as you hear Miss Grizzle scream there. Barbara, how you do? Scream as you hear Miss Grizzle scream. Miss Grizzle can't afford it. Miss Grizzle can't find a night dinner. Can you, the ordinary Jamaican, though, lying in the wreckage of Melissa, afford the new tax where you're going to have to start pay in a 2026? Giving some Miss Grizzle and her friend them in this sector, they have been given special treatment. They have been given special treatment. And them now got to pay till 2027 April. And Miss Grizzle come out and said this a cause fear amongst the small hoteliers. The small hoteliers, you know, when you care how small them be, them a exploit poor people. Them a make a dash off our country and then pay them fair share. Cause we the poorer people I pay more than them. But Miss Grizzle, I mean, know the tourism sector would be behind Miss Grizzle on this. So let us see how it a go between the tourism sector. She from in the tourism sector, Opal, she in the small hotelier business. But you know, when she come out, she can represent the whole of them. And the whole of them think to say, them don't fi pay them fair share. Remember, said was it the Antigua Prime Minister was planning to kick out Sandals and them lot if they don't pay them fair share because the Adam Stewart them not pay them fair share in Jamaica. Even though you hear the Adam Stewart and them lot got them not paying the fair share in Jamaica. But you the people who live down in a mud, who live down in a water, who live down under tarpaulin and under rusty zinc, don't have no concern of the tax hike that the government is coming with at this time. This time we don't know how if we go to higgling. This time we don't know how if we go to fishing. We don't know if we go to fish vending. We don't know farm, we don't have to dash it because Flight Green and what it murderer from St. Thomas name. James Robertson, Flight Green and James Robertson Tuft and them mash up agriculture and everything. So, what is it going to be? And then Cuba is going to rise one day, you know. And so Cuba got ton superpower. And hello, Jamaica. You see the superpower where you claim to be Jamaica. You see the broke, silent, take order from America. Walk and beg superpower where Jamaica be. Cuba is going to become a superpower one day, you know. The death of the United States, the hastening death of the United States, the rise of China, the emergence of Russia, the coalition of BRICS, Cuba will become a superpower in the Caribbean one day. I promise you this, Jamaica. I promise you this, CARICOM. I promise you this, America, that in your dying days, we will see Cuba becoming a superpower in the Caribbean. They've already got what at stake. On the 7 decades of embargo, Cuba got what it takes. What Cuba offered to the Caribbean, you can't even do it for yourself. What Cuba offered to the Caribbean, Marcia Thomas, how you do? Michael Leach in a call out, Andrew, when I call out Andrew Pan. Believe you me, Marcia, family done this morning show, the way how by a cold and tan bad. Me just asleep. Me never look for nothing much. I must say that's why I extend the time of the show, even though me kind of draw back in, because me no much long wake up. I sleep today, I sleep. In the bad weather. But I don't think a lot of these people did expect Andrew to win back. A lot of them, they feel the pinch quietly. A lot of them did fed up of the blatant corruption with Andrew quietly. I don't think they thought he would win again, giving Andrew teeth in way back to power. They didn't expect that. So the whole of them is as shocked as Labour, right? So then I have to go deal with Andrew another fight. When I say Cliff Hughes a turn. Cliff Hughes a turn, but I don't know, so she She's a cricketer. She bat and bowl. She's a cricketer. She bat and bowl. You might never know what side of the fence she depend at any given time. Now, we did our piece of global TV editorial this evening on the silence from the Caribbean. It's heart-wrenching to see how much Cuba has done for the region in Jamaica. Jamaica, don't give back Cuba in school, them and speciality and everything. You know, get back. And let us see if the United States of pedophiles is going to step up to the plate. Because if the United States of pedophiles would have stepped up to the plate, the dog of Dr. Tufton wouldn't have returned to its vomit, even though Marco Rubio did have them behave like they have any other choice. Ivan Bradford, oh, you do, Ladybug. Even though you see the little hand Marco Rubio, how them behave like I said, they have any other. You all don't have any other choice other than Cuba Caribbean. It's shameful though how to see you all crawling under the feet of pedophiles. At a time like now, when everybody should have showed their skirt over their head and tell America where to come kiss out. Everybody should have not tell the United Pedophile to come kiss out something. See the hold on the pound on knee. Let us go to the Global TV editorial. This is just our opinion. All right.
Silence in the sun. Where is the Caribbean's moral outrage for Cuba? For half a century, Cuba has been the Caribbean's quiet pillar of solidarity, sending doctors to staff underfunded clinics in Grenada, building schools in Jamaica, and rushing aid to Dominica in the wake of Hurricane Maria. Through economic hardship and political isolation of its own, the island has consistently answered the region's call, embodying the very spirit of one for all and all for one that is supposed to define Caribbean unity. Yet as the United States tightens its decades-old embargo and ramps up pressure on the island with measures that restrict access to food, medicine, and essential goods, much of the Caribbean remains conspicuously silent. This lack of collective moral outrage raises a troubling question. When did regional loyalty become a one-way street? The embargo, which has been condemned repeatedly by the United Nations General Assembly, inflicts real harm on ordinary Cuban citizens, many of whom have family ties across the Caribbean. While some nations have issued mild diplomatic statements, there has been no coordinated regional response to challenge the policy or demand relief for a neighbor in need. Economic pressures from major trading partners, fear of U.S. retaliation, and shifting domestic political priorities have seemingly overshadowed the moral imperative to stand with an ally that never wavered. The Caribbean prides itself on its history of resistance against oppression and colonialism. Failing to speak out for Cuba betrays that legacy. True solidarity is not measured by support offered in easy times, but by the courage to act when doing so carries risk. It is time for the region to find its voice and demand an end to a policy that punishes the most vulnerable and undermines the very idea of Caribbean community. Charting a path forward, how the Caribbean can advocate for Cuba while balancing geopolitical realities. While speaking out for Cuba carries clear challenges, the region has practical, strategic options to advance solidarity without putting critical interests at risk. Collective diplomatic coordination is a foundational step. The Caribbean community could draft a unified statement that frames support for Cuba as a matter of regional sovereignty and human rights, emphasizing the impact of the embargo on access to medicine and food, rather than focusing solely on political differences. By presenting a single voice at international forums like the UN and Organization of American States, CARICOM would amplify its influence and make it harder for external powers to dismiss individual nations' concerns. Additionally, member states could rotate leadership on the issue, ensuring no single country bears disproportionate pressure. Economic and people-to-people ties offer another avenue for meaningful support. Caribbean nations could expand existing trade partnerships in sectors like agriculture and tourism, prioritizing goods that are not subject to U.S. sanctions, or finding creative, compliant ways to facilitate exchange, such as bartering arrangements or regional supply chain collaborations. Strengthening cultural and educational links, like expanding student exchange programs or hosting joint artistic festivals, would also reinforce community bonds while building public support for solidarity across the region. These steps create tangible connections that are harder to disrupt than political declarations alone. Finally, engaging constructively with all stakeholders can help bridge divides. CARICOM could offer to act as a neutral intermediary in discussions between Cuba and the US, positioning the region as a champion of dialogue rather than a partisan actor. By framing advocacy as part of a broader push for equitable regional relations and economic development, Caribbean leaders can make the case that supporting Cuba serves both moral and practical interests for the entire community.
Now, what I was expecting from CARICOM, what one would expect from CARICOM, maybe they do, but I am not aware, is I haven't heard CARICOM convene an emergency session to deal with the issue unfolding in Cuba. Nor have we seen CARICOM take the steps to advance the issue as an emergency to the United Nations Security Council or to the United Nations General Assembly. These are the screaming, the public screaming that we expect to come from CARICOM. If it is that uno say uno hands are tied, and if uno do uno fido, it's going to collapse uno financial system. What about noise? What about bringing it to the attention of the world? What about making it as a crisis in our region? I don't see the crisis approach. I really don't see the crisis approach coming from the Caribbean at all. You wouldn't believe that what is unfolding in Cuba is by the way the Caribbean is just going as if it's the usual. Now, Cuba has been under sanction for decades, but this is a tightening. This is a tightening of the belt, and nobody no sound like them united on the issue. Lynette Jenkins, how are you? All right. Unafraid for speak out single. Unafraid for champion the issue singularly. What happened though to the voice of CARICOM? And what does CARICOM means if it only means when it's good time? Because it is what is playing out here. The entire Caribbean willing to call Cuba a brother, willing to call Cuba a neighbor when it benefits them, willing to raise their voice and call the word Cuba when they're stretching out their hands. They all barely want to use the word Cuba at the moment. They barely want to use the word Cuba. Nobody wants to upset Donald Trump or Marco Rubio. Well, Cuban foreign minister is in Russia. And I have every confidence Russia, who have stood staunchly behind Cuba for decades, will continue to do so. I still have not heard anything from the African countries such as South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, and all of those countries across Africa that Cuba had stood with, had fought to achieve the fake independency that we claim to have. I'm still yet to hear anything from them. But I know people like Russia, China, and North Korea will step up to the plate. Venezuela would have, borrowing what we see the pedophile president did in Venezuela. And that's a part of squeezing Cuba. But how disgraceful it is for a country like Jamaica. Jamaica benefited from Cuba. Schools, free scholarship, medical specialities, something that us so-called independent democracies to date has not achieved. And this is why I say to you all the while, fuck democracy. It really doesn't work. And let me tell you why it doesn't work. Especially when democracy is tied to high-level corruption, it really doesn't work. Look at China. Look at China, how China has pulled itself up and has passed the United States. They didn't do it with democracy. Because what democracy done, it gives too much stupid people too much voice. What democracy done, it gave stupid people too much voices. Look at Russia. Russia was never a democracy. They held themselves in the face of US and global pressure and sanction. And they have emerged on this global stage victoriously to the point where under US sanction, since the Ukraine war, the Russian economy grew more than the US economy under sanction. Remember when the mad Biden says we will turn the ruble into rubble within weeks? The Russian economy has grown faster than the American economy. Colin, how you do? Look at a new and present example of authoritarianism. They call it authoritarianism. Look at the new brand authoritarianism, as they call it, in Burkina Faso. It is fostering development. It is fostering a national spirit. This thing about democracy that says you must wear a short skirt, you must sleep with a pig if that's what you decide to do, you can marry to a horse or yourself, is too much stupid people have too much voices. And it is the reason why I don't believe in this thing called democracy. Democracy and free speech are two different things. Democracy is a corrupt system designed to serve powerful white people. Governments or leaders that use the authoritarianism method have a system of, Pamela, how you do? Holding a country together, building a country's fabric, and develop the country socially, politically, and economically. Look at Iran. Why you think they couldn't have fought more than a 12-day war with Iran? Look at these countries they call authoritarian rules. These are the countries that have the chance to develop these things called democracy, the hair under America's arm that America can shave away when they're too irritant. It serves no purpose for development. Democracy have no interest in people. Democracy, the interest of democracy is in power. That is why you see all of these post-colonial countries hinge and tie to democracy, never get anywhere. And they will never get anywhere because all of these clubs designed by the colonial masters, democracy, what you call whatever system you see them design, them democracy, them rule of law, they don't work. They're only a mechanism of dictating to others, such as international law and all of these bullcrap, such as institution like the IMF, the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, the World Health Organization. All of these arms and institutions, they serve as a way of America and the West dictating to the rest of the world. And that's why I'm always of the view that democracy don't work for what we call developing countries or post-colonial countries. What we need is leaders with vision, leaders with the political will, leader with a national spirit and not an American spirit or a Western spirit. This is why we're not going anywhere. And this is why, under 6-7 decades of embargo, Cuba internally has done better than the rest of the Caribbean under the pressure that they exist. They have done better than the Caribbean in science and technology. Us who have the access to all of these things from our Western allies, we still haven't got the capacity to do the level of training, Pamela, how you do, to train people in the sciences that Cuba is doing. We're still not up to par yet. How much scholarship we get to anybody? We can't even give a student, we can barely give a student them at home scholarship. Over the decades, how much free scholarship have we got from Cuba? So democracy don't work for us, and it isn't working for us because our partners in democracy, they have not shared their knowledge with us. They have not shared their expertise with us. Gloria Morris, how you do? They have not shared their knowledge or their expertise with us. What they do is the little that we can train to their required standard. As soon as we can train them, so them draw them from we. Because if we ought to become ambitious as the Cubans, the American and the Western healthcare would have suffered. If we, with the democracy what we have, was to develop ourselves like Cuba, or we can pay our healthcare workers. But we're not there. We still have to stretch out with hand to Cuba. Look at this moment. Look at this very moment. When Marco Rubio come to the Caribbean a couple months ago, come upset things and tell them what to do and what not to do. Dr. Tufton get up and say all that he needed to say. And a few months later, we see Dr. Tufton running right back to Cuba because you all don't have any other choice. You do not have any other choice. And I don't see Jamaicans that treat it like Tufton ought to answer questions to us. Because this recruitment drive with Tufton Gopan over the India, all about where Dr. Tufton could go panning recruitment drive. We need to know how much it costs us. We need to know how much that unfruitful tree cost us. And at the same time, we're turning back to Cuba, which during that time, when Dr. Tufton, when Marco Rubio have Chris Tufton run around like headless chicken, Chris Tufton should have pinned down negotiating a new memorandum of understanding with Cuba. Now then come back and negotiate it, but Jamaica and make stipulations where hold up. Jamaica make stipulations where hold up a sign off on the memorandum of understanding. What are those stipulations from Jamaica? It would have to be something new. And is it stipulation that serves the United States ego? Are those stipulations that serves the ego of the United States? It is very disgraceful to see the behavior of the Caribbean. Terrence Jew, you are the one who is leading cheering CARICOM at the moment. You said you're a leftist, you're a social democracy. Oh, you don't convene an emergency session. Oh, you don't convene an emergency session with CARICOM. How is it that we not request an emergency meeting with the Security Council? Because the older than something there, our American organization, CARICOM, the American state of whatsoever you call it, all these organizations are American organizations. And when you check out CARICOM deep root, they have all hand themselves over to America. They can't make no decision without America signing off on it. So when you hear these people go to the United, me go tackle you at the United Nations General Assembly. Me go tackle you because me expect a load of advice from a snap election where they me Motley. The reason why you call a snap election where they you want to strengthen up and shore up your support given the tricky waters of geopolitics in the region. So me want to hear from Mia Motley because Mia Motley is the only strong voice in the Caribbean. It look like Terrence Jew him turning a Mark Golden. Mark Golding and Dana Motley. Mark Golding and Dana Motley. PNP, you hypocrites. You hypocrites who suck Cuba fish head. PNP, you hypocrites. Why on the street to demonstrate for Cuba? On the street to demonstrate for Abraham Chore. What have you benefited from Burkina Faso? I'm sure you benefited much from Cuba. But we not see no out there. I demonstrate for Cuba because no want to no face sip on camera for one another embassy America, so no they demonstrate for Cuba. PNP, uno will suck Cuba fish head. Uno will get no from Cuba when uno did in a power. Cuba stood behind PNP loyally to this day. If Portia was here, it wouldn't be like this. At least nice would Anna make. If it was Mama P, at least some nice would Anna make. Them classy hypocrite will call themselves PNP. The whole of them turn America stooge, you know. The whole of them turn America stooge. Why PNP not up on street? I demonstrate for Cuba. Me no hear the PNP vlogger them a go on like this is a critical issue. Why everybody ignore Cuba? If you don't ignore Cuba, the entire Caribbean go blind, you know. You remember that? You remember say if Cuba fall, the entire Caribbean is going to go blind. Any blind? Yeah. The entire Caribbean. But you know, we're blind already anyway, so we're spiritually blind. But if we lose Cuba, the Caribbean will end up physically blind. Because we don't have the expertise to treat cataract and glaucoma. We don't have the expertise to treat cataract and glaucoma. We don't have orthopedic expertise. So the one neurosurgeon expertise we have, we throw him to the curb and have him a court. And then the fake one, just that they walk and chop up people. So when you see the Governor General recently, so we don't have to say more upon that. This posture, this US posterior posture from the Caribbean is going to come back to haunt us. And you know why? You know what? It's us, the poor people, the working class, the working poor. It's going to come back to harm. Because these rich thieves in power, they can go abroad, go buy medical services. Them can go abroad, go get them operation and them treatment. But when the relationship between we and Cuba mash up, when they support America to make sure Cuba fall, are we the people on the ground and go feel it? Because these people who support America so that Cuba can fall, these people have visa and money when they take sick for jump on plane. These people can go and do their private surgery in foreign. We're already dying in our health care. Have you not noticed? We are already dying out of proportion. And it's getting worse. It don't get any better, you know. Since Donald Trump and Marco Rubio come in, they added the pressure what we did already have in our health care, them put added pressure and added expense. And that's why we, the taxpayer, we, the remittance payer, ought to find out from Dr. Tufton how much did this joyride across the globe cost us? Because this joyride by Dr. Tufton bear no fruit. Because if it did bear fruit, Dr. Ed Christopher Tufton wouldn't come back to Cuba looking for what they've looked away from. How embarrassing. It's only months, you know. It's only been months since Marco Rubio come and we see them a roll their shoulder and Dr. Tufton said when we get to the bridge we will cross it. Dr. Tufton still there at the foot of the bridge. Dr. Tufton look like he afraid to cross water. Because Tufton still there at the foot of the bridge. But for the people of Jamaica, especially Western Jamaica, who've just been battered, hospitals destroyed, healthcare damaged, and an overrun white elephant, billions and years behind. This treatment of Cuba serves no joy. This taking orders from the US that would allow us to suffer, allow our health care to suffer. It brings no joy. But Jamaica people say, visa over health. Visa over health. We want to know how much money Christoph Dan spend. Because this looked like it was a holiday that we paid for. Dr. Tufton went on a cruise paid for by the taxpayer. A cruise that has not benefited us. A cruise that had not advanced his promises of healthcare workers from these countries where Dr. Tufton joyride to. On our expense, mind you. We want to know what happened as to why the tree never bear fruit. Is it that Jamaica couldn't is it that the standard that we have, we couldn't give the promises or assurances to make sure say people from abroad come work for we in the health services? Is it to do with working rights, pay, working condition? What it is? What are the stalemate or the incompatibilities why these recruitment deals, Dr. Tufton, don't bear no fruit? We want to know. I see Dean Jackson in my half sleep today. I didn't even get to watch it. Put out a video on YouTube. Is there a future for Jamaica? I wonder if we could have watched it together now, because I'm interested in the things that Dean Jackson Miller put out on YouTube, you know. I'm just not interested in our TVJ force or if it talk about. But when she up on her YouTube channel, Dean Jackson Miller do a whole heap of good content. Just not worthwhile being over TVJ. But I see she was asking a question this evening. What is there a future for Jamaica? Mhm. And it is sad of our country. And because them have the people in an eternal sleep. Because they have the people them in an eternal sleep. The poor people them don't have a clue of what our leaders are doing. A lot of people haven't got a clue what our people are doing to us. Let us quickly listen this together. It's just a few minutes. Because me see it when me lay down today, but me need to sleepy. Need to sleep if you pay attention. Bear with. I want to listen to what this is about. Bear with. Let us listen to what Dan Jackson Miller is talking about.
Starbrook News, powerful media houses in the Caribbean going out of business. What that say for the media houses that remain here in Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean? Want to know what you think? I'll soon tell you what I think. I'm Dion Jackson Miller. Thank you so much for joining me. Time for tea. Trust me, those of us who are still working in what they call traditional media or legacy media here in the Caribbean, you look around, you say, what they go on? Trouble there. And you're wondering what or who is going to be left when the shakeout done, if it ever finishes. And when they talk about traditional or legacy media, you're talking about media that were here before the internet. Yes, there was such a time. So you talk about TV, radio, newspapers, magazines. And I want to know, tell me, do you still watch or follow legacy media? You still listen radio on radio? You still listen TV on TV? Do you still read print copies of the newspaper or magazines? Tell me in the comments, all right? And while you're down there, like the video, all right? Share it. Subscribe to the channel if you're not yet a subscriber.
Sharon Bernard, how you
this
doing?
channel going. So obviously, it's not that people aren't consuming content. People are watch, people are listen, people are read stuff. So how come traditional media are dying? And there's a whole heap of research going on about this, all right? Whole heap of books and...
What? Another deal one?
You know, I die because we
Monday
don't tell too
theorem?
much lie
Stop
to
it.
the people.
Did I?
them.
Articles and documentaries and everything, but I want to share with you some thoughts I have looking at what's been happening here in Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. And some of the things I'm noticing, the issue of diversity of voices, the issue of what you might call same old, and of course the overheads issue. In case you didn't know, I do work for the RGR Gleaner Communications Group, one of the largest remaining traditional media groups in the English-speaking Caribbean. So what have we seen just in the past year alone in Ghana? The Starbrook News closing after more than 39 years as an independent newspaper. Starbrook News is going to stop printing as of March 15, 2026. And Jano, when I went to Ghana, when I was in Georgetown, I just saw the sign. I saw where the office was, and I was so excited because I was going Starbrook News, because as long as I've been in journalism, Starbrook News has been one of the influential and important voices in media in the region. The chairman said newspapers like the Starbrook News have faced what he called an existential challenge from global digital platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Now, in January 2026, news came that Newsday out of Trinidad and Tobago was shutting down. And the managing director said the paper had been affected by what he called a perfect storm. He said the cost of raw materials, especially paper, had soared over the past decade. He spoke about the cost of machinery, the cost of maintenance, and he said the world had changed and the value placed on traditional media had diminished. And he said the political campaign to discredit them for nefarious reasons has ramped up. And I read that and I was like, oh my gosh, OMG, that need a whole video because it is so true. There is a campaign, it is nefarious, it's very targeted, and it's also very obvious. But another day for that. And of course, in 2025, we saw Digicel closing Loop as well as Sportsmax. Now, Sportsmax started in 2002, Loop started in 2014. So people are still consuming content, but they're gone online, right? And again, tell me what it is you're watching or reading or listening to. Comment below, all right? Really want to hear. I might do a follow-up video based on your responses. This is one of the fascinating things for me, right? Since I've come into this YouTube space and I've just been looking around a lot more, and just the diversity of voices that are here. People who would never, ever have been allowed onto traditional platforms like radio and TV in many cases because they don't sound like how BBC announcers sound. And trust me, if you don't believe, say a lot of people still think you need to sound like that to be in media. You need to hear some of the calls we get. But they're
Ballot, the death of mainstream media. We are the new frontier. Hashtag new media.
Out there, they're on YouTube, then they're on TikTok, they're doing their thing, talking the way they talk with a thriving audience. People are watching them, people following them, people listening to them, and they're doing good, they're doing well. And there are all kinds of channels out there. As I know, you know, lifestyle channels like Meet the Mitchells and the Virgos and Asafa Powell and his family. Big up to all of them. And of course, you're seeing sports out there. Big up to my colleagues who used to be at Sportsmax, who have started their own channels. Ricardo Chambers with Sports Chambers, for instance. Leighton Levy with Mr. Analyst. Lance Whitaker with Lance Whitaker Voice and Motion. He does Lance at the Track for all you horse racing fans. You have Oral Tracy, of course, who comments on any and everything, and I could
Jamaica, them a catch on. You see how long me I tell them, say, drop the mainstream media and create on a YouTube channel because this is where it's at. They're catching on. Them a realize now, say, done. A be a duck's nest a fall upon them. Then realize now, say, done. Get it over.
Do a whole series of videos. I've done a couple on all the many things I disagree with Oral about, but I digress. So what I see is that a lot of people, they're getting away from the kind of very formal, curated content that you get on traditional media, and a lot of people are enjoying that. And a lot of content creators are doing things very differently than we've always been taught to do them on traditional media. So if you do an interview program on traditional media, right, it's probably going to be half hour, an hour, and half hour means really 24 minutes or so with ads. 1 full hour means probably 48 minutes with ads. If you're doing a news story and you did an interview with somebody, if it's a radio story, the soundbite from that person is probably going to be about 30 seconds or 45 seconds. On TV might be a little bit longer, might be a minute, minute and a half, but you get the point. Very, very short, very, very tight. And of course, there are reasons for that, right? But then when you go online, no, a lot of those rules broken. So for instance, Teach Them, really interesting channel. Fabulous interviews with lots of celebrities, for instance. And when you look at those interviews, like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, more than 2 hours, and just talk. And sure, a lot of people may not watch them right to the end, but you can watch and you can come back, or you can watch as much as you want. And if you want the full interview, it's there. As we know, not all channels are at the same level. Not all channels give you the same level of credible content. But that's one of the things that happens when you get rid of the gatekeepers. You know, have a whole heap of choice, including from the truly excellent to the not so wonderful. And when we talk about curated content, I remember the big excitement and fuss there was when Raga Shanti first started on Jamaican radio and was doing his program in Patois, in Jamaican language, right? And a lot of people were upset. I remember arguing with one person and saying, why would this bother you? That one program on one station for 3 hours out of the day, the host wants to do his program in the Jamaican language. Why on earth would that bother you? And of course, the person had no answer because there's no good answer to that. But the reality is that traditional media, certainly in Jamaica, have never really leaned into the Jamaican language. You might have a one program here or there. I think it was Irie that used to do newscast in Patois. If I'm wrong, please correct me. My colleague from St. Lucia, Janella Pursuit, says that in St. Lucia, they do French Creole newscasts, right? And in 2026, we're just still not doing that in traditional media here in Jamaica. So see, they know people doing their programs on social media, on the internet, and can talk anyhow they want to talk. And people are attracted to it because it's authentic. It's engaging, it's fun, and a lot of times talk truth. Traditional media, many times, is none of those things. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to pick up on this in my next video, though, because I want
Jamaica, them a learn. Slowly but surely, them catching on. Them realize. Listen here. It's not that I like Donald Trump. Don't get it wrong. But Donald Trump makes certain things possible. As my mother would say, you got to hang the dog, but give him character. Annie Jones, how you do? Before the first coming of Donald Trump, we accepted mainstream media. And then Donald Trump came along the way. And he branded them as fake news. This is the thing about Donald Trump and name calling. And this is how bullyism works. His name calling, you notice when he throws a mud on the wall in name calling, it tends to stick. And he has diminished his attack on social media in his first comment, really diminish the standing of social media, of mainstream media, rather. And then COVID ushered in and exposed them, hold them up to the light, because we all realized then, for those of us who were wide awake, would have noticed that whichever channel you turn to, in whatever country, whether it be radio or television, they were all reading from one script of the World Health Organization. And that lie that they told us, that lie that they doubled down on, with the battering of Donald Trump sideways, have really exposed traditional media, because a lot of people invested their time in social media and really believe, mainstream media rather, and really believe the narratives of mainstream media. It also shows us in that opening of them, it shows us that media is not what we thought it was. It's just an extension of the government. It's rather have become the government mouthpiece rather than a voice to challenge government corruption, inability, or lack of. And then the second coming of Donald Trump, the idiot, in a bid to crave power, planned to release the Epstein file and the Wahala. The Wahala of exposures. So I know me and the world have a disagreement with Donald Trump, but with me who always want America to take a sudden nosedive, nobody other than an idiot could do it. So I have to celebrate the useful idiot, because idiots like Donald Trump do have use. That's why we can call people like Donald Trump a useful idiot. He's doing well at chipping away of that old thing called America. But globalists, let us, the people of Jamaica and the Caribbean and of this world, because we remember during COVID, the Cuba, the oppressed Cuba, the 7 decades of embargo Cuba could have supplied doctors and nurses and specialty to these major independent, democratically run US aligned countries. We must never forget what we benefited from Cuba. We must never forget how Cuba stood by us, how Cuba has helped us, even when the British and the Americans who owned us continue to step on us, continue to profiteer from us. It's about time. It's about time we chart a direction. It's about time we chart a direction. We can't keep speaking the word sovereignty. Come here, we talk about independence. Can a country not independent? What we have, the word that we ought to use is interdependence rather than independence. No country is independent. They're all interdependent of each other. So this word called independent, don't even go there. But the sovereignty and the autonomy that these Caribbean ventriloquists regularly talk about, we all need to throw our slippers at them when they stand in front of us and speak the word sovereignty and autonomy in the silence. In the silence, autonomy and sovereignty in the silence. So if we're not throwing our slippers at them, when that word comes out of their mouth, our reply should be in the silence. Thank you all for being here tonight on Global TV. We stood firmly and squarely behind Cuba. And we know that with a China, a Russia, and the BRICS, Cuba will stand firm, and Cuba one day will become the superpower of the Caribbean because they have got what it takes. Thank you very much, and good night from Global TV. Please do join us back tomorrow morning. In a very cold Britain, it will be cold here tomorrow morning. I tell you that. It will be cold. And we have days of rain for tackle as well. So globalists, thank you all for being here tonight. Lovely to have your support, as always. Join us back tomorrow morning when we hit it off again. Thank you. Good night from Global TV.
Ghetto, run, keep going on, less process. For children of Israel do really love rights. So just say I and I say watch a man around Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel, I she never hold thy peace. What wrong is going on? Hey, oh, we gotta bust down Babylon walls. Prepare and read the way. Prepare and read the way for your people. Let's go. Fight down war and crime. Fight down. Me say Rastafari. War and crime. And do the righteousness. And we love Jah. And we love Jah. Jah Rastafari. And we love Jah. Jah Rastafari. And we love Jah. We love Jah. Jah Rastafari. We love Jah. Jah Rastafari. Preserve our people. Put time away. Put time away. again. Listen. Yeah. It just as I and I as to watch a man around Babylonian walls. Oh, children of Israel. I should never hold thy peace, while we penalize day or night. We gonna bust down Babylon gates, prepare the way, prepare the way for Rastafari. Fight down war and fight down war and fight. Rastafari, war and crime, and build up righteousness. But we love Jah, and we love Jah, and we love Jah, Rastafari, preserve all, and we love Jah, me love Jah, me love Jah, Rastafari, preserve all, me love Jah, Rastafari.
If you don't like missing out on the latest shows but still enjoy classic hits, then Global TV Group 358 is your perfect match. Global TV Group 358 isn't just another channel, it's your ultimate TV experience. From breaking news to binge-worthy dramas and timeless classics, we've got it all. Our unique blend of original content and global favorites means there's something for everyone. And guess what? With GTVG's seamless streaming, you can watch anywhere, anytime. Plus, our interactive features let you be part of the action. So, whether you're a seasoned binge watcher or a casual viewer, Global TV Group 358 is here to keep you entertained day and night. Don't just watch TV, experience it with Global TV Group 358. Subscribe now and never miss a moment.